You're listening to the Archaeology Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Archaeology Show. TAS goes behind the headlines to bring you the real stories about archaeology and the history around us. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Archaeology Show, episode 318.
On today's show, we talk about ancient DNA, Neanderthal drawing implements, and potential early American seafarers.
All right, let's dig a little deeper, and I'm going to use a sharpened crayon to do it. Welcome to the show of archaeology.
The show of archaeology.
Yes.
Got it. We're getting formal these days.
Oh, yes. Yes, I threw that last bit in.
Yeah.
Remember on the last episode that we did, that was after like a month-long break, that we said, we got another episode ready to go. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we just need to be realistic about like our life right now, and we are really busy, about to go on vacation, which I know nobody is sad for us right now, but you know, we get vacations too.
Yeah.
And I think we're just kind of in a like every 2 weeks kind of a place right now. We'll bring it back to every week, maybe.
We'll see.
Maybe in January. We'll see how it goes, but
we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what we can record. Yeah, I don't want to commit to anything.
We're not committing it. Yeah.
I do want to say just like what our, life has been like recently, because for those of you who are angrily typing out or have Apple reviews or Spotify reviews ready to go just to, angrily type something out that we aren't talking about archaeology, just skip ahead like a few minutes.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
We talk about our lives a little bit in the beginning of each show.
I know, because it's been a little crazy. Like we left Mexico and we're driving across the country and we spent 2 full days driving Saturday and Sunday. And because we have work and can't just drive every day, we spent the night in San Antonio for a few days, and then we moved up to Houston just to get a little bit closer. And now we're going on our vacation from New Orleans, which we just got to today. So it's been a crazy week, but we worked every day this week.
Yeah. But like fitting driving 24 hours or so across the country around also working like normal jobs and all the other things we do, like
it's hard,
all the podcast stuff too. Like it just was hard. It was a busy week,
which is why we get rewarded with a vacation.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And you get rewarded with a podcast.
We did do all that driving so we could go on vacation, but it's fine. It's fine. We haven't been on vacation in a while, so it's
all right.
It's time.
Yes. You know who hasn't been on vacation? Neanderthals. They've been working.
You don't know that. They might have been on vacation.
Well, I doubt it. It was all work back then.
Well,
it was all just like, who's going to go kill the mastodon and who's going to bring it home?
Right.
Yeah.
Probably.
So,
it was a bit of a hustle to survive back then.
And also that saber-tooth tiger is getting really close.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
watch the babies.
Watch the babies. All right. Well, somebody that knows a lot about Neanderthals because, well, they're popular, are popular mechanics.
Oh, God. I am going to challenge you to not choose a popular mechanics article for like the next month.
But the popular kids are always what people want to talk about.
I mean, this article is actually great. I mean, it really is. I don't have any complaints about it, but I'm just like, why are we getting all of our archaeology news from popular mechanics? What kind of shift is happening in the media where we're getting our news from places like this?
Well, to be honest with you, and this is a note because this is a news show, basically. If you constantly choose something, all the algorithms these days are designed to just show you more of that.
They just feed you that.
Yeah, so it's really hard to go outside the algorithm and go find something else, you know? But that being said, they're covering all the latest news, so I'm kind of like not sad about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's great. It's just crazy that that's where we're getting all the archaeology news lately.
So anyway, this article is called Scientists Discovered Ancient DNA That Could Change Prehistory Forever.
Oh, they're always changing history, aren't they?
We are. So archaeologists discovered a Neanderthal bone fragment at Star 1 it's called Star 1. The fragment is called Star 1, sorry. In Starosal, I guess Starosale cave in the Crimean Mountains. And spoiler alert, it dates back 40 to 50,000 years.
I mean, to be Neanderthal, it would have to be at least that old. Sure. So that makes sense. And they have actually found quite a bit of human remains at this site. And in some cases, they even thought that they were Neanderthal. But it turns out that all of the other human remains they've found in this cave were medieval burials of various different types. So
or post-medieval, somewhere around there.
Yeah, exactly. So, but this piece turned out to be actually Neanderthal. So that's exciting.
And they found that out by using a version of mass spectrometry called zooarchaeology mass spectrometry.
Oh, okay.
I am saying that all wrong. Mass spectrometry. Yes. Okay, I got it. So this mass spectrometry, I don't know why that extra R is really hard to say.
Word, it's not what I'm used to. I'm used to it being spectrometry. So I feel like there's an extra R in there maybe, but.
Well, they did put a little acronym in there, and it's zoo. It's really pronounced zoo when you say zooarchaeology. It's not zooarchaeology. It's not the archaeology of zoos. It's zooarchaeology. That's how people pronounce it.
Yep.
But it's zoo MS or zoo MS. So I'm just going to call it zooms.
And I just went to the article because they actually linked to the article about zoo mass spectrometry in the article. And that is how that's spelled. It's not a typo. So there you go. Spectrometry.
Yeah. That's right. But anyways, used to identify the Neanderthal, distinguishing it from animal bones. So basically what this did was it looks down at the molecular level, and they're able to tell, is this animal, is this hominid, or humanoid or something like that.
That they can tell the difference between modern humans and Neanderthals. And obviously animal. Animal would be a lot easier, harder with bone fragments, depending on the piece sometimes. But that's crazy, but really cool.
Yeah. The ancient mitochondrial DNA analysis revealed that the star 1 fragment is closely related to Neanderthals from the Altai Mountains in Siberia, 1,864 miles away.
That's very far away.
Yeah.
That's surprising, right? For Neanderthals to be moving around that much. That's crazy.
Well, and one thing interesting about that particular region of Siberia is that's home to a number of caves, two of which I haven't really heard of, but Denisova Cave I have heard of, and you guys may have heard of well.
Yeah. That's
where the Denisovans come from, which is a completely different species of, I'm going to say hominids. I can't remember what kind of branch they're on.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
they feed DNA into modern humans the same way Neanderthals did, basically. So yeah. So interesting that this DNA actually comes from there. Mitochondrial DNA is passed down on the mother's line. Yeah.
So the female line.
Yeah, this genetic link suggests long-distance Neanderthal migrations across Eurasia, probably during favorable climatic periods, because, of course, you're going to move when the climate is good. But, yeah, that's a very long distance. So it's surprising, but really, really interesting that it can prove that.
Yeah, the bone dates to the Crimean Mycoquean technological period. And basically what that means, that's just a name given to it, probably because of a location or something like that.
Probably, yeah.
But anyway, it's known for bifacial stone tools. And a bifacial stone tool, they don't really elaborate too much, but bifacial just means it's a piece of stone that was worked on both sides. So flakes were taken off of both sides to shape it, rather than just some of the earliest stone tools were literally just a flake taken off.
Yeah.
Some of them were just a flake taken off.
Yeah.
And then they started saying, well, maybe if we hit it here and hit it here, we can, shape it a little bit.
Yeah.
Make that edge a little sharper or something like that. And then they started shaping both sides and really making what they need to make.
Yep.
So that's what bifacial means. Two faces.
Stone tools found at Starosil are remarkably similar to those from Siberian sites, like the caves you were talking about, Denisova, Chagarskaya, and
Okladnikov, nice.
Yeah, Okladnikov.
Yeah. So those are the other two caves, yeah.
Yeah.
The faunal remains found have cut marks, which indicate Neanderthals hunted horses, bison, and other steppe animals. Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Which, if they got stone tools.
So if they're finding faunal remains, they must be very sure that they are in association with the Neanderthal remains that they found, and not with the medieval stuff that they're also finding in this cave. I wonder if it's stratigraphy that's dating that, or how they're able to make that determination.
That would be interesting, because you can't really tell what stone tool has made a cut mark. They all make kind of the same cut marks.
Yeah, that's tough to say. You just see cut marks and you're like, okay, people did that.
Right.
But was it modern people or Neanderthal people or Denisovan people or what lithic technology did it, I think that's a little bit harder to identify.
And you might be thinking, well, how do you know an animal didn't do it? Well, that's because cut marks made by stone tools are V-shaped.
Yeah.
And just think of a knife cutting into something, right?
Yeah.
And then cut marks made by teeth are U-shaped.
Yeah.
Or at least not V-shaped.
No, like a bite is definitely leaves a very different signature behind than a blade or a knife or something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty clear.
would. Yeah.
Yeah, unless there's a lot of erosion or something, then they wouldn't make the call anyway.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm interested to know how they are so sure that those remains are part. It must be either stratigraphy, so found in the same layer, or they're able to date them in a way that makes them sure of that. Yeah,
these guys lived in this area for such a long time. I mean, at least 100,000 years. You know, sitting there doing different things and evolving. And the habitat models of the area suggest that the interglacial periods, so periods when they could actually travel pretty freely when the glaciers had receded, made long distance travel possible for Neanderthal groups, which is kind of a cool thing to think about because we always think about the last ice age. And, you know, there's probably a lot of people out there that don't really think beyond that because they're not reading that kind of stuff. But there's been, I mean, thousands of ice ages.
Yeah, for
millions
sure.
of ice ages probably.
Yep.
I mean, the Earth is 4 billion years old.
Yeah, and each one would have slowed down the migration of any animal, any human, other animals, whoever. You know, it always slows down when there's an ice age going on because it's just not as easy to move around. There's not as many resources, all those things. But then, you know, the ice melts away and corridors open up and then, you know, they start moving again.
But think about it, too. They're not just like going, all right, well, that ice is pretty close. I guess we're hunkering down because this ice was close for thousands of years.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like there's entire, obviously, generations and whole histories oral histories that they might have or something like that are just like, the ice has always been here. You know, it's a very Game of Thrones kind of thing because it's almost like they lived through ice ages. They didn't really have seasons so much.
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming. They've been in a summer for many years, and then winter is coming, and winter's going to be there for many years. It's a weird place to live in.
In Game of Thrones, is winter just a glacial maximum?
No, I think. Listen, if we're gonna break this down, I think Game of Thrones takes place on a planet that is much different than this one, and its rotational period is slower, and it just the way that it orbits the sun, it just rotates so much slower that it's summer for a really long period of time. But on the other side of that planet, it's probably winter for the same amount of time. Yeah. So,
and how do you apply that to Neanderthals in this?
It's
story?
a very similar thing, I would say, because in their world, if they had astronomers and they're living through glacial periods, they probably would have thought much the same thing. They're like, it's been cold for a really long time. Like, when is it going to heat up?
Right.
You know, the crazy thing is, though, even in the interglacial periods where there was no glaciers, it's still pretty cold in the Crimea region in the wintertime.
Yes, very much so. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So anyway, in case you were wondering, I think we should, that's a whole podcast I want to do. Just like what planet?
What is the archaeology of fantasy worlds? Like, pick your favorite.
If you also enjoy that, you should listen to Archaeo Book Club.
Yeah.
Because they do stuff like that. And I feel like Am I
Trowell does.
Am I Trowell does a lot of stuff like that, although they're very heavily or Lord of the Rings biased.
No, they're not that
Come
much.
On,
no.
Girls. Come on, girls.
No,
Lord of the
it's
Rings.
traditional fantasy biased for
right.
sure. But
Sure. Sure.
Not the most recent episodes though. It's all about Korean demons and stuff.
Oh yeah, of course, because everything's about those guys, including Target displays I saw.
Oh, you're talking about K-pop demon hunters specifically. They do talk about that in the show. Yeah, that movie was great.
All right, whatever. Go on.
The findings imply Crimea was a crossroads for Neanderthal dispersal, connecting Europe to Siberia.
Yeah,
of course, it only makes sense, right?
Why not connect the two?
Yeah. And the study supports the idea of a wide-ranging Neanderthal network that is linked by the genetics, of course, and then tool traditions and shared behaviors, which we are just discovering more and more and more of these things that connect the different populations together as time goes on. It's really amazing, all of the different Neanderthal discoveries that have been happening lately. And I think there might be more to talk about.
Yeah. So on the other side of the break, we're going to find out what Neanderthals did during those interglacial periods. They drew on the walls with crayons.
Of course.
Back in a minute. Welcome back to episode 318 of the Archaeology Show. And I really tried hard to make this an all Neanderthal show, but the third article is not so much.
I know the discoveries about Neanderthals seem to come like all the time, but just couldn't find a third one to fit in with these, unfortunately. But that's okay. We have another cool story coming after this.
Right. All right. Well, unlike popular mechanics, we found a bunch of scientists that are a little bit new to the game. So they just read about Neanderthals because everybody loves them. Yeah. That was a bad joke.
Yeah, that was bad.
This is from New Scientist.
Out of context because nobody knows what you're talking about.
This is from New Scientist, which I also think is a weird name for a journal article publication.
Super weird. Yeah, I agree.
But it's like news science articles. They should just call it New Science. I don't know. Anyway, this is called Prehistoric Crayons Provide Clues to How Neanderthals Created Art. So archaeologists found a remarkable yellow ochre crayon in Crimea. Again, Crimea. A lot of Neanderthals up there. Still sharp after more than 40,000 years.
Can I take a little bit of umbrage immediately?
Yes.
With this article. So I'm just feeling like I really don't like the word crayon and the use of the word crayon here.
Are you saying crayon or crayon?
Crayon.
Your southern
crayon.
Are you going to go?
It's a crayon. Okay.
Are you going to go get an oil change too?
Yes. So I mean, I guess it is, and the scientists do call it that. So I guess that is what the word they're using to describe it. It kind of looks like one. It does have a little pointy tip on it, like you said. It was shaped, to be used to write with. It's just that a crayon, it invokes the image of a child drawing on a wall. And that's not necessarily what we're talking about here. And there are adult activities that you can do with a soft pigment like this. And you can today too. They're called oil pastels. I mean, anyway, I'm taking umbrage with the use of the word crayon. Okay, go on.
Well, when you're writing for a popular audience, you have to use terms people understand.
What
else would you call it?
I know, and it's not even their fault necessarily. Like I said, it looks like one of the article or the researchers used that word too. So,
and I think just about anything that is potentially multiple colors that goes away as you and it can be sharpened as you use it. I mean, it's kind of in the crayon family. I
mean, it kind of is, but again, it at least in the United States, it invokes an image of children drawing simplistic pictures, and I just don't think that's fair to say what the people here were doing.
Yeah.
And we don't even have images necessarily. We just have the thing itself, right? So we don't even know what they were doing with it exactly. Well,
the cool thing is, just like a lot of ancient artifacts, you can tell and infer use from shape and function. Infer function, I guess, from shape and wear marks and patterns and things like that. And we're just going to call it a crayon for lack of anything else to call it.
We are.
Because I don't know if you have another term for this. But
no, I did find another article, though, and this one's in Smithsonian, and they actually don't call it a crayon except in the quote from the researcher who calls it that.
So what do they call it?
They just describe it as a shaped piece of pigment, basically.
Oh, yeah. Well, it shows signs of being used for drawing, and that provides the strongest evidence yet that Neanderthals used colored pigments symbolically. Now, the fact that it's used for drawing, to me, doesn't say that they used it symbolically. Maybe to draw symbols and do things like that, so I guess it could be symbolically. But symbolically always implies ritual and things like that.
It does.
But it didn't necessarily have to be.
It didn't have to. And the other thing I noticed, we'll link to the Smithsonian article as well, because I think it's actually a little bit better than the New Scientist one, but they said that it doesn't necessarily mean they were drawing on walls with it or caves or whatever. They could have been drawing on their bodies. This could have been something that they did. And no, it probably would be in a ritualistic manner, though it's why you would draw on your body probably. But, there's a lot of different canvases, for lack of a better word, that they could have been using this quote unquote crayon on.
It could have been a lot of perishable things that we'll never have access to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, they could have had skins, that they were processing in some way and drawing on those. So there's a lot of different things they could do with it. I think I love and hate these kind of artifacts all at the same time. I love them because they're so cool and they're so unique, and clearly they were using this to do something.
Yeah.
But then you're lost after that. You just have no idea, and all you can do is speculate.
Right. Well, the discovery does add growing proof that Neanderthals engaged in these kinds of behaviors, once thought unique to Homo sapiens only in that time period, such as creating art.
Potentially.
Right. Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
Right. We don't actually know what they used them for, but
no, we don't know. I always have to hammer that point home
Yeah.
because like it's just so easy to start making assumptions and then drawing conclusions from those assumptions, and then that's like where you end up in, you know, ancient aliens territory eventually.
Sure.
So yeah.
But other artifacts from Neanderthals, especially from the time, like etchings on bone and things like that, show that Neanderthals liked painting lines on things.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is true. We've seen that in some of the stuff that we've talked about on this show, I'm pretty sure, like etched lines in bone and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they definitely did like to do that for whatever reason.
It does support the idea because, you know, rock art has been found from the time period, but it does support the idea that Neanderthals did, in fact, use these ochre crayons, we'll call them, to draw on cave walls and possibly on other materials, like we said. So,
Yeah.
I mean, when you have the other materials we may never find, but we do have cave paintings using this kind of ochre. And I think they could use a, what is that called? The hand... analyzer. Anyway, they can analyze
a gun.
She's like, yeah, I can't remember what the hell the thing's called. But anyway, they can use this analyzer to, if they did actually find any intact ochre in the areas on walls, I'm pretty sure it's almost like a mass spectrometer, but it's not really. But they can use that to analyze the chemical composition and then probably link what they found here to something that was actually used. Because more than likely, this ochre was sourced from the same locations. Well, could have been sourced from the same locations. That's something they find nearby. So anyway.
And experts see this as a new facet of symbolic color use in Neanderthal societies.
Yes.
Which I think is another really interesting thing here is this is a color, right? So it means that color was potentially important to them in some way in whatever symbolic ritual stuff that they were doing. So that's cool because they probably had other colors of ochre as well. If they had one, why wouldn't they have more? And then you can kind of snowball your brain into thinking about what else they might have been doing with the different natural colors that they would have had access to.
Yeah, and apparently this was found alongside other ochre objects, suggesting a broader tradition of pigment use among the groups of the region.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, if you have one, why wouldn't you have more, right?
Yeah.
And then why wouldn't you realize that you could do different things with the different colors to mean different things, or just because you like them because they're pretty, you know? You can't throw out the pretty factor. Like maybe they were doing things just because they liked the way it looked, you know? That's entirely possible. But
all right.
Yeah, I love it. It's cool.
Okay.
We'll call them the Neanderthal ochre drawing implements.
Yes, that rolls right off the tongue. Yeah.
All right, find the crayon.
Yes. All right. Well, this next article that we're going to talk about is really going to tell me the answer to something I've wanted to know for a few months now, because we went to this spa in Whitehorse, and spas aren't like spas you might think of normally. The spa up there was like these thermal pools,
spa.
and it was a thermal spa, hot springs, naturally fed, things like that. But then they also had the water going into these things, and one of those were these Japanese clay pots.
Oh yeah.
And now I think we know how the Japanese clay pots got to the Bering Land Bridge area.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So the next article will exactly tell us that.
Great.
Back in a minute. Welcome back to the Archaeology Show, episode 318. And now we're going to talk about the Japanese and spas. Yes. No.
Your obsession.
I know. So this article is called New Evidence Suggests the First Americans Didn't Walk from Siberia. They sailed from Japan. All right.
That's a theory.
It's a pretty bold statement.
It is. It's very bold.
Yes. So as we have discussed on past episodes, especially since we went to basically, the Beringia area this summer up near, Whitehorse in the Yukon Territory, northern Canada, and also Alaska, basically. And we went to the Bering Land Bridge Interpretive Center in Whitehorse in the Yukon, and so you can listen to that episode. But the prevailing theory is that people came from Siberia and various places over there, crossed the land bridge, because when the last glacial maximum happened, there was land exposed, a lot of land exposed, like a ton of land, not just like an actual bridge, but 500 miles wide or something or more. But it was huge. And they walked across that and then hung out up in the Alaska Yukon Territory area for a while, because there was a lot of ice-free areas up there. And then when the ice actually receded off the most of Canada and started opening up these ice-free corridors, they just slowly migrated following game and things like that down through these new ice-free corridors.
And following game is kind of like one of the more important parts of the story too, because it's not like we just looked at it and we're like, oh, that's probably what humans did. We also have evidence that all the animals did this too.
A lot of them did, yeah.
Yeah, it's like not all of them did. Some of them actually ended up going back and not staying over here. And there's a lot of different like crazy evolutionary and migration paths that the different animals took. But humans are, essentially we're animals at the heart, right? So, and at that time they were following the animals as they were moving too. So there's a lot of evidence for that.
Right. Well, new evidence is showing using 20,000-year-old projectile points found in some of the oldest American settlements are strikingly similar to East Asian stone tools from the same era, which... Okay, we'll get into that in a little bit.
We will get into that.
Yes. So when they say East Asian implements, anthropologist Lauren Davis from Oregon State University analyzed spearheads and found strong evidence for ancient people from Hokkaido, Japan, and nearby regions reaching the Americas by boat via a coastal route. Now, I don't know if he's saying it's a coastal route just because of where the sites have been found, or just because, well, it's Japan. They weren't in Siberia.
Maybe it was timing too. Like maybe boat was the only way to get there at that time.
Maybe. And there's a lot of actually coastal migration theories where they call it like the kelp migration theory or something like that, where you can actually eat a lot of seaweed and kelp. You can sustain yourself. And then a lot of animals live along coastlines. And
the marine resources are really, really rich in a lot of places. So,
societies with a strong seafaring background, which Hokkaido, Japan, they probably would have had some knowledge of seafaring activities and things like that, even 20,000 years ago, could have done that. Now, these early American artifacts predate Clovis points and are bifaces, so it means they're flaked on both sides, as we learned in segment 1, and are smaller and lighter than later tools.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what these researchers are saying is that they are very similar in appearance to the ones from Hokkaido. And the similarity in stone tool technology between the American sites and Hokkaido suggests a shared technological tradition and then possible seafaring migration. And this is where I'm, again, taking umbrage a little bit. But you go ahead and say what you think about that.
Well, the one thing I'll give this is... Yeah, we don't really know realistically where these points came from, right?
Right.
The fact that they exist is real. The dating, I'll give them the dating. The dating is probably real too. Although 20,000 years, people don't generally accept that as the gospel yet.
It's not yet because there's too much room for error, and you need more confirmation. It's just
there's not a lot of room for error. They date 20,000-year-old sites in Europe every day, right? Like we know how to do it. We know how to date them. There's just not a lot of them. There's not a lot, and there hasn't been enough to really start changing the textbooks, although these things are starting to get written into textbooks.
They are starting to get older. I think most everybody accepts a pre-Clovis tradition, and there might have been multiple, and they're in different places around the country. They might have migrated from different places, and actually coming by boat, and skipping the whole ice-free corridor path that Clovis people probably took sort of makes sense, right? Because they could have come earlier by boat in that scenario. But the evidence is it's just so scarce still at this point. And I have to say, like, my biggest problem with this article is I really dislike this looks like this, so they could be related. Yeah. Like, people do the same thing. People's brains are so similar around the world, especially at this time period. There's no reason to think that because they look similar, it means that one came from the other. They could have developed them independently. They absolutely could have. And so I'm sure they say this in the article too, because it doesn't sound like they're just pointing out the similarity, not saying that it's fact 100% for sure. It is interesting, but it's not enough for me personally.
Yeah, I think if we had some sort of technological variation that was never seen anywhere else except for these two places, like some sites in the Americas and then Hokkaido, Japan, then we could probably say definitively, hey, these people probably, came from here. But we also have to remember that if you've got sites in the Americas, whether it's Alaska, Canada, or even the West Coast of the United States, it doesn't matter. It would still have taken generations for them to get from Hokkaido, Japan to there.
Yeah.
It's not like they sailed there in a month.
Right.
Right. And it's not like they did it and then went back. It's just, it would have taken literal generations for that to happen. And what happens during those time frames as well? Well, stone tool technology also updates and changes. And especially if they came down the coast, yeah, sure, there were islands. There was a lot of land that was probably exposed that's not exposed now because, again, the Ice Age, we're lowering sea levels. So it actually would have been somewhat of a shorter trip if you think about it that way.
It could have been. It really,
right.
it really could have been.
Water.
Yeah, if they had a good seafaring technology, boats, whatever they were using, like it really could have been faster and probably more comfortable and easier in some ways.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at people who live by the sea all the time and you're looking at them still using spear points because they didn't have bow and arrow technology yet,
right?
Where the points got much smaller.
Yeah.
But if their spear tips were getting smaller, it's because they were going for smaller game, which does lend itself to the seafaring hypothesis too, because
and small
birds,
coastal mammals,
small coastal mammals, things like that.
Yeah.
And sure, I don't know if they were grabbing whales with those spear tips, but
probably not.
But that's also not saying they didn't have the bigger ones too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, the whole theory certainly makes some bit of sense for sure when you start thinking about like all of those pieces coming together. I don't know. Maybe it's because of the sorority site and their whole, these look like tools from Europe. So therefore they came from Europe. Like that whole idea just, I hate it. And I don't like, it doesn't feel like real science to me.
Some of the sorority stuff actually looks like tools from Africa.
Oh, is it Africa?
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't remember, but I'm just saying like the visual comparison. I'm sure they did measurements and all the stuff, and I'm sure they were scientific about it.
Yeah.
But I'm still just so skeptical of that, and I need more. And I'm pretty sure they said in the article they need more as well.
Sure.
It's just a pointing out a similarity.
Yeah. Well, one thing I mentioned was the possible shorter journey. There actually is science behind that as well. It's called the Paleo-Sakhalin Hokkaido Kuril, those are all hyphenated, or the PSHK Peninsula, which happened during lower sea levels. It actually was this huge peninsula that, on this side of Japan, again, lower sea levels cause more land to be exposed and less sea. Yeah. So it would have made sailing to the Americas feasible.
And it would have been lower sea levels because there was more water in the glaciers, basically.
Well,
So this is happening. These lower sea levels, they could have taken advantage of it during the times when there was more glaciers. So it makes sense. Again, the whole hypothesis makes sense for sure.
Yeah. And there's something that we likely talked about, although I don't remember it, in the Beringia episodes, called the Beringian standstill hypothesis. And that's that people were isolated in Beringia for thousands of years. But that's challenged by lack of archaeological sites from the right age and evidence that Beringia was abandoned during the last glacial maximum, which we don't really have.
No.
So that's just lending more credence, I guess, to this theory, because it's not saying that they stayed there for thousands of years. It's saying they actually moved and they got through one means or another. And then maybe these people coming down, I don't know. Maybe there was some help going on. Who knows what's going on?
Yeah, maybe.
So anyway.
The passage between North Asia and Alaska was closed by ice sheets around 26,000 years ago. And that would make an inland route unlikely during that time period, which is the time period that we're talking about. So basically, like we've been saying, like they simply couldn't have used land. Not really, not in this time period. Water would have been.
Yeah, there was too much ice.
Yeah, there's just too much ice. So,
Yep. So finally, the age and design of these Japanese and American projectile points, they're saying, suggest the idea that they came from East Asia and not walked from Siberia. So, because the projectile points in Siberia were just functionally different too.
I get it. I hear that idea.
Yeah.
There's a part of it that makes sense. I just would love to see more evidence, which is going to be hard to find. I know that that's asking for something that is so difficult, because I mean, what you need is human remains that you can run DNA analysis on that date to this time period and that have a DNA, link to Japan or wherever they might have come from. And that is such a huge, big ask. And I'm not saying it's not out there, but it's just, it's not been found yet.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully someday, or maybe it has. You know what? This is such a good archive thing too, because maybe it has been found.
Yeah, we just don't
20,
know yet.
40, 80 years ago when we didn't have DNA analysis and
in a box somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's entirely possible. And also, I mean, a whole other level of complication is you can't always run DNA on like ancestral remains in this country, depending on what groups are involved and stuff like that. Right. So there's just so much complication around all of this stuff that answering this question is so difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with a lot of seafaring communities and coastal communities, there's a lot of burials at sea as well.
Yeah.
So we just may never find anything.
That's so true. You know? The lower sea levels means that a lot of sites are now underwater, and we'll never find those.
But literal burial at sea.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So
yeah.
But,
all of that.
But you're right. I mean, they obviously have found some sites that were more inland. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about this. But yeah, there's probably a ton of sites, which is why we have a lack of evidence of this, that are just simply underwater.
Yeah. I mean, if they were truly coastal people and they just like pulled up to a beach and spent the night every night, like we would, those sites are gone.
Gone.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. You know what else is gone?
This podcast?
This episode, not the podcast.
Oh my gosh.
This episode.
Not the podcast, I swear.
Right.
Not the podcast.
All right. Well, I'm not going to say, I'm just going to say we'll see you when we see you.
We will see you probably in 2 weeks, but we'll see. We see you. Yeah.
All
when
right.
we see you.
Back next time. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to The Archaeology Show. Feel free to comment and view the show notes on the website at www.arcpodnet.com. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at ArcPodNet. Music for this show is called I Wish You Would Look from the band Sea Hero. Again, thanks for listening and have an awesome day. The Archaeology Podcast Network is 10 years old this year. Our executive producer is Ashley Airy, our social media coordinator is Matilda Siebrecht, and our chief editor is Rachel Roden. The Archaeology Podcast Network was co-founded by Chris Webster and Tristan Boyle in 2014 and is part of Culturo Media and DigTech LLC.
This has been a presentation of the Archaeology Podcast Network. Visit us on the web for show notes and other podcasts at www.arcpodnet.com. Contact us at chris@archaeologypodcastnetwork.com.